What happens when you enter a genre gold rush too late in the day and string along an eSports team, or 2 or 3 or 4, without telling them what the hell is going on? Well, you upset people when you have to announce that Heroes of the Storm development has scaled back and that your eSports 2019 events have been cancelled. This is the situation that Activision Blizzard has found itself in, with Blizzard saying it's had to move developers from Heroes of the Storm to other projects, and that content releases will now slow down for the game. Heroes of the Storm was Blizzard's attempt to crack into the MOBA market, and incidentally, it's actually one of the few MOBAs I've actually played. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I don't think it had quite the explosive audience that some of the others had. I mean, obviously, that's what they were hoping for. It's what anyone hopes for when they see an emerging popular genre and then rush toward it for the gold in them thar hills. But it did have a dedicated following nonetheless. Blizzard President J. Allen Brack and Chief Development Officer Ray Gresko said it was a difficult decision in a statement in which they said that they made a difficult decision. I don't know. I started that sentence and didn't know where it was going. Let's just read what they said. Over the past several years, the work of evaluating our development processes and making hard decisions has led to new games and other products that we're proud of. We now have more live games and unannounced projects than at any point in the company's history. That's not always a good thing, you know. So did Telltale. Anyway, we're also at a point where we need to take some of our talented developers and bring their skills to other projects. As a result, we've made the difficult decision to shift some developers from Heroes of the Storm to other teams, and we're excited to see the passion, knowledge, and experience that they'll bring to those projects. This isn't the first time we've had to make tough choices like this. Games like Diablo 2, World of Warcraft, StarCraft 2, Overwatch, and more would not exist had we not made similar decisions in the past. They go on to say that we've also evaluated our plans around Heroes eSports. After looking at all our priorities and options in light of the change with the game, the Heroes Global Championship and Heroes of the Dorm will not return in 2019. This was another very difficult decision for us to make. The love that the community has for these programs is deeply felt by everyone who works on them, but we ultimately feel this is the right decision versus moving forward in a way that would not meet the standards that players and fans have come to expect. Right. The big problem here is that those within the professional Heroes playing community found out about all this at the same time as everybody else. After already attempting to find out what their future looked like before now, trying to get Blizzard to talk about it, getting nothing from them. Now, the key word in professional community is the word professional. This game was people's professions. Now, whether or not you follow esports, these are people who work very fucking hard to do what they do and be the best at what they do, and Blizzard has not been communicating with them at all. Now, I think that if you are running events for a community of professional players, if you've been actively perpetuating that and, of course, benefiting from that, at the very least, you should feel some sort of responsibility to the players you've been working with and open up some channels of friggin' communication. But players have been expressing frustration for a while now that they've not been receiving any such communication. Until now, Blizzard's been basically silent on this, and people haven't been able to find out whether or not they'll have a friggin' job. Just days before Blizzard's announcement, various players and managers and commentators were expressing their frustration and their worry and their stress that they just didn't know what their futures looked like because they'd spent years building these livelihoods alongside Blizzard, and Blizzard wasn't telling them jack shit. Before all this went down, Blizzard was quite communicative and open with everyone involved with the league, but the moment there was trouble on the horizon, they kept their mouths zipped. And I think the message that should be taken away from this, the lesson that should be learned, is don't get into bed with Activision Blizzard, because while they'll be perfectly cool to work with during the high times, once there's trouble, they will drop you like a lead fucking balloon. As for Heroes of the Storm itself, people are now questioning its future. Blizzard has assured people that updates will still be coming, but the abrupt cancellation of all the esports plans and the scaling back of development doesn't exactly exactly paint everything in a good light for the game. What we're seeing here is basically the fate of many games over the years, over the decades, that have attempted to cash in on the latest hot craze and just not succeeded. And there's always a ton of collateral damage there. Even for games that were successes by any reasonable metric but failed by the unreasonable metrics of big-name publishers. That's why, live services being the recent moneymaker, it's why I've been so skeptical of every publisher rushing to cash in on it, to desperately turn every project it has into a live service because of shit like this. Because there will always be failures, because there's only room at the tippy top for a few, and companies will happily jettison workers, entire studios if need be, if they don't end up on that tippy top. This constant boom and bust, these constant gold rushes towards genres and game ideas, leaves only a few standing, somewhat like a battle royale, and a trail of fucking victims in the wake. But what's happened here with Heroes of the Storm seems to go a bit beyond callous and encroaches on cruelty territory. It seems rather cruel what happened here. I don't care how difficult the decision was to axe all of this shit, but to not give anybody a heads up, to not ease them into this news, to just drop it on everybody, to drop it on the league at the same time as everybody else, is really, really shitty. Basically, it seems like a lot of people were laid off, but without the benefits of being officially laid off, which probably suits a company like Activision right down to the fucking ground. That's the American dream for them. Again, I'll reiterate what I said earlier about Blizzard, Activision Blizzard here, because they've got a lot of games that are played competitively, your StarCrafts, your Overwatches, etc. Be fucking careful with them, because as we've just seen, they ain't your friend. No company, no corporation is your friend, but in this case especially, be fucking careful working with them, because look what happens. Look what could happen if things don't go the way they want them to go. You could get right royally fucked.